I look at this place, I look at your faces, and I think of our history. I think particularly on this day of mourning, which precisely was born of the First World War, in the year, the centenary of which we are commemorating. Nothing forced you to invite the President of France to this event, because the German memory of the 11th of November 1918, after having lost over 2 million Germans in this war, the memory is even more painful than that of France. Nothing forced you to invite us to this event, but you did so. So here I am in front of you today, and I say so with respect. I recognize your character here, because no people has looked at its history with so much sincerity and sought so much as you have as to draw the lessons. You show thereby, once again, beyond the vast cemeteries of our fellow countrymen from previous wars, you have decided not to cease surpassing old quarrels and seeking to work together for peace. To this end, Germany has not renounced being itself. The German miracle is the ability of a whole people to fight against the demons of nationalism and to restore its search for the highest ideals since the medieval times, were to think about the freedom of man and the political emancipation and social emancipation of man. The Germany of philosophers, engineers, scientists, poets, craftsmen, captains of industry, you have saved from the hell in which it had been led by demagogues and tyrants. In this resurrection, I am proud that France has played its part, because France has always been at Germany's side or on the road to emancipation. After the errors of 1918, we found in 1945, together, we found the strength, the grandeur, and the lucidity of reconciliation. It is because our nations have restored their genius and have held their hands out to each other that 70 years of peace have now been sanctuarized in France and in Europe. And we have done so without denying the history of our two countries. We did this in a clear way and in trusting in each other and in very frankness. Being here today on this special day bears witness to the ground covered together. We can assert that we have answered strongly to Goethe's injunction, but, my dear friends, we have done even more than that. For 2 centuries, our nations were the drivers of merciless wars, and our eternal conflicts made the face of Europe look like war, the destiny of Europe. We have decided to arrive at a sustainable peace and to strengthen its foundations by sharing what we used to fight for and by cooperating in so many areas. We have turned the Franco-German couple into the heart of a united Europe to which other partners have gradually joined, who had in the past been our allies or adversaries. We have set up together on our continent the feeling that it had only occurred occasionally in the minds of our thinkers. The people felt that this was the best way forward, but the governors refused to foster this sense of Europe. Together, over the last decades, we have turned Erasmus's dream, the dreams of Erasmus, Goethe, and other famous Europeans, a reality. And this sense that no more war is possible between Europeans because what brings us together is greater than what separates us. History has gradually emerged a uniqueness, an identity, a culture, a vocation which is strictly European. This European feeling, this sense of being European, exists amongst us, the political leaders. It can be seen every day in our institutions and companies and enterprises. We have not denied our differences. We have not opposed our differences. We have united that our differences can be capitalized on to enhance our sovereignty. We haven't rejected the idea of peoples or of nations, and we have transcended the mortal narcissism of our small differences. We have not diluted, we have added. What in the past was a response to the wars that had torn us has become today our answer to the fragmentation of the world. This joint undertaking has made it possible to reconcile and to unite your country and our continent. We must today, together, have the courage to open a new chapter. We must do so because we owe this to Europe itself, because we haven't understood the importance of the movement we believe in, and we owe it to all those who over the last 7 decades have built this exception which is our Europe. The security threat, the climate change, the upheavals of digitalization, artificial intelligence, migration, all these challenges, the European Union was not designed to confront these events. Germany and France and their partners have built Europe, built a single market, developed trade, stimulated competition, but we must say our management of our borders, our joint defense, the regulation of digital space, our ability to become the continent of innovation, our monetary independence, our food autonomy, our laws until now have hardly dealt with these issues, and our union is still under the sign of prudence. The new Franco-German responsibility is there. By building this modern sovereignty, effective sovereignty, democratic sovereignty, which will depend on us first and foremost. The words already say this. We must overcome our taboos and go beyond our habits. In France, sovereignty resonates in people's hearts. In Germany, it can surprise people or even instill fear in people. In Germany, the unity of Europe reassures people. France, on the other hand, has nostalgia of a club of 6 countries, forgetting that when it existed, it caused a lot of fear at the time in the 1960s. Here, the rules create confidence and membership. On the other side of the Rhine, they have often led to distrust and evasive action, and yet we are facing the same challenges, and we deeply share the same hope. The hope of a regulated world, fair trade, an environment that is protected, a balance, a permanent balance between individual freedom and collective solidarity. We share this unique creativity, this unique construction of a rational individual and a universal fatherland, a motherland, which is romantic as well. And for all this, it is Europe and its values which can support it in the face of the contemporary challenges we are facing today. This new Franco-German responsibility consists of giving Europe the tools, the ways and means of inventiveness, of the tools of sovereignty. This new stage, of course, does it cause some anguish, because we will have to share our decision-making capacity, our foreign policies, migration policies, development policies, and share our fiscal resources, build a common defense, turn the euro into an international currency with a budget, and create a European asylum office to guarantee all our citizens the food that they have every day is of high quality. All of this is in front of us. But I ask two questions. Is it preferable to remain immobile? Especially, I ask, was it easier for those who preceded us? For Briand, Stresemann, de Gaulle, Adenauer, Mitterrand and Kohl, didn't they have to overcome greater taboos, more resistance than we have? This new responsibility for action, we owe it to Europe, and we owe it to the world as it is changing, because our world is at a crossroads. Either the world decides to head towards the precipice, the fascination of technology without any conscious, nationalism without any memory, or fanaticism without any landmarks, or we decide that the wonderful benefits of modernity open up a new era from which the whole of humanity can benefit. It is in this continent, it is in our union that is being born today the new digital model that blends protection of data and regulation of players. It's from here that the fight for the ecological transition continues and against climate change. It's in Europe that the ideas of refounding multilateralism in the fields of trade, migration, environment, and trade. Europe, and within it, the Franco-German partnership, are invested with an obligation not to let the world fall into chaos and to lead Europe towards peace. It's for this reason that Europe must be stronger. It's for this reason that Europe must be more sovereign, because it can only play its role in the world if it doesn't take on more responsibility in the fields of defense. It cannot do so if it plays only a second role on the world stage. Too many powers want to eliminate us. They attack our debates, our democracy, by trying to foster our divisions. In this world, which we must look at, our strength, our real strength, lies in our unity. And it is not synonymous with unanimity nor uniformity. We must accept different paces, different circles, that some should take initiatives such as Schengen and the euro, but always by remaining open to the others and by remembering the interests of Europe, of a united Europe. Our strength must also become our sovereignty. If we want to guarantee that we will be able to protect our citizens in the face of the new risks and to choose our future, we must be more sovereign as Europeans. This fight is not won. It will never be fully won. It assumes taking more risks. Each generation must take up the fight in its own way, And this hand, which we are stretching out to our peoples, every generation will have to extend it again, overcoming its hesitations and transcending its reluctance. We know from now on how much we can do together, how much we can achieve together. On the 5th of September 1914, on the 5th of September 1914, Charles Péguy, the French poet, was killed by a bullet in the head as he was leading his section to battle, into battle. The legend has it that a few days later, not far from the camp, he had been recognized by a young German poet, Ernst Steiner. Ernst Stagler had translated into German Peggy's poems. The young German then sent a word to Peggy, and Peggy, after hours of effort, was unable to read the word, and he answered, "Dear friend, I don't understand you, but I love you." On the 30th of October 1914, in Wipers, Ernst Stadler also fell in the battle. He was 31 years old. All our history lies in this story, in these tragedies. Just before dying, Stadler had published a collection of poems in which we can read these wonderful verses.
Vielleicht würden uns am Abend Siegesmärsche umstreichen. Vielleicht legen wir irgendwo ausgestreckt unter Leichen. Aber vor dem Erraffen und vor dem Versinken würden unsere Augen sich an Welte und Sonne satt glühend trinken.
It is for us also, for us to be able to enjoy the sunshine of the world, that our ancient forebears gave their lives. Indeed, Europe is not an example in many ways, but it does offer the world the face when it allows faith to overcome war, when we decide that tomorrow will be better than yesterday. The powerful link between France and Germany is the proof that this is possible. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, on behalf of the French Republic, I would like here to thank you once again for having made it possible for me to speak in this wonderful place. The French people came to reassert its friendship with the German people. Thank you for having allowed me to say that together, I know we will be able to open a new chapter in the history of Europe, which needs it so badly. And let me say that as for the little words of Stadler and to Péguy, every time you understand us, every time you don't understand all the words from France, always read that the words that France loves you. Long live France, long live the German Federal Republic, long live Franco-German friendship, and long live Europe.